All right. How are we doing? Ooh, that CPU load ain't good, is it? Hang on one sec. Let's turn that off. Okay. I configured an old iMac and I thought, hey, let's give this a go. Because I thought, well, let's rather than sort of moving things around and I thought I'd try and repurpose an old machine. I don't like our chances. We'll see how we go, but anyway, it's okay. Hopefully it's not dropping too much. I just thought, well, I've been neglecting this. There's no harm in just doing a quick little test stream. It doesn't seem to like it very much, but let's see how we go. Are we jittery? Are we jittery? I mean, the lighting looks, everything looks good. It's just performance, but I'll work on tweaks and all of that sort of stuff like as time goes on. I don't think there's people watching anyway. I can't really see anything. So hi, waffle. Good. The upside is that my buttons are working.
What a load of old shit!
I've got to program new buttons because like I'm such a loser. Yeah, it will be a bit jittery. Okay, so it is a bit jittery. Yeah, yeah. So the performance is probably, I'm gonna have to tweak that stuff a little bit. So the LinkedIn chat is working, and that's good news. So okay, it's always such a lottery. Like setting this stuff up, like you can spend so much time on all of this, it's pretty ridiculous. But anyway, you spend so much time configuring and stuff. Thought I'd try to use an old iMac because I wanted to, we're doing the old hand-me-down shuffle. I'm sure that parents are familiar. When you've got lots of kids, you do the tech hand-me-down shuffle. But that also means that I just sort of repurpose whatever the sort of old computers are for the stream, and I don't know whether this one's going to make it, but we'll see how we go. If it doesn't, then it doesn't, and I'll just swap it all back out again. But yeah, so we're figuring stuff out. So I didn't really have much planned to talk about. Like, things are a bit crazy at the moment. A week is a long time in politics for a start. Nothing has shown that phrase to be more true than this week, right? We went from everything being like catastrophically shit and hopeless to maybe there being a little bit of hope that things could get better. And no, it's exciting stuff. Like I for one am somewhat excited about the fact that the US election is not hopeless, and the reaction to that has been quite worrying, but I really don't have any. I know it sounds odd, but I try not to get too in the weeds on US domestic politics. First of all, because it's not really, I don't give a shit. It's not my problem. I mean, even though I've got interest in it and I, studied it and all of that sort of stuff, it's not really my place during an election to, I mean, some people are in the outside perspective. Obviously, Americans tend to be caught up in their domestic dramas, and sometimes that, if they are willing to hear it, will, the outside perspective. Some people like that, but it's like, okay, I'm a bit tired of America dominating everything anyway, and it is, we're seeing AI, hype stuff, shit the bed too. So lots of things are happening. We're also seeing crackdowns on regulate. We're seeing more and more crackdowns on tech and this sort of end stage capitalism bullshit that we've been complaining about for some time. I'm feeling a little hopeful about everything. Things have this way of self-correcting. I mean, this is what I try to get through to people. Sometimes, especially when you're in the middle of some issue, right? You sort of get involved. It's easy to get frustrated that progress isn't being made on that issue immediately, right? But things do take a while. Like I have said, like a lot of these issues, especially with tech, it takes years. Yeah, so I will interact with the chat shortly. I just have to pace my. I can't like sort of short bursts. Hang on a sec. I just got to adjust this. Yeah. So but it is things. Look, I've got a lot of critiques of like neoliberalism, right? Capitalism, all that sort of stuff, dominated by the United States. But the reason why these systems, the way they work, is that they are stable. Okay, one thing that they are is stable. Now, for better or worse, that's can be a good or bad thing depending on which side of that fence you end up being on. But one thing that I do know, not just through my studies, but also my experience and my age, watching a few cycles sort of happen, right, is that things orient towards stable, sensible, generally, okay? And just because, that's right, I was thinking about activism and how it can be frustrating. Things aren't immediately apparent. Like, I started talking about how the internet broke in half, right, in a decade ago. And a lot of the stuff that I was pointing out early and got, quite honestly, got treated like I was insane, like I'd lost the plot, like I was being negative, that people just weren't seeing the problem that I was seeing. And it's taken a lot of years to let it unfold. Like sometimes things need to just run their course without again, it's easy to get impatient when, especially okay, let me just find my words. I am completely unprepared. It's just a riffing stream. Okay. So Raul actually say it's a good point. It is in everybody's interest. So I think for the Americans, in America who don't understand why the rest of the world has something to say about United States domestic politics. Because we don't get a vote. We don't get a vote. Like I've always said, we should at least have an international vote on who the US president is, because it's consequential. Who is US president is extremely consequential, for better or worse, for the world, okay? It does affect us. As an Australian, in my lifetime, I'm 45 years old, right? It's not a long life, but it's enough to see some cycles and enough to see sort of trends. And in my lifetime alone, I have seen Australian political culture in particular, the Australian economy, our once robust education, healthcare, any system that you've got, any public system that you've got, welfare, those systems become gradually overrun by the American capitalist system, right? So the American political system has a massive amount of influence over ours in particular, okay? Like people say that Israel is the sort of 51st state, okay? Australia's a close second, right? We're pretty tight. Like we've got our own, as I've said before, we've got our own visa system. We are very tightly, we've got a very strong and tight relationship with the United States. To the point, but also not terribly, it's not an equal relationship, obviously. So it's one of, I've talked about this before, where, it's not necessarily equal and we don't necessarily get much say in things that we are dragged into. We're just expected to be the United States proxy and all those sorts of things. So obviously that has, who becomes president of the United States? I mean, they effectively become the president, the proxy president of Australia, because regardless of whether you vote or not, people, especially on the Gaza thing, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. Again, like individuals in America protesting Gaza and protesting, all of this sort of stuff, that has more of an impact. And even them, they don't have any impact, right? You're seeing it. He just, literally just sat in Congress and got a standing ovation, right? How helpless you feel as an American citizen watching that stuff, okay? Imagine being an Australian citizen trying to put pressure. Imagine even being an Australian Prime Minister knowing that your citizens aren't feeling the same knowing that you agree with them. Our Labor government has a pro-Palestine platform, and there's nothing you can do about it either. And so our government the Australian government probably has less influence than your average high-profile journalist in the United States, because they have direct influence over their government, right? They can actually directly influence. We don't have any direct influence over the United States, even as a country, right? I would say, I'm not being flippant when I say, right, we've got, 27 million now, I think we're up to, 27 million people. Like, there's a lot of American audiences, they have that as their audience. Like, they have more. Anyway, that's my point. Hopefully, I don't know what the performance is like here. It's tipping at 90, and it's like making me a bit nervous. Hopefully we'll see how. Let me just have a look at the preview. Seems to be okay. I'll have to watch it back. I won't get distracted with it at the moment. But so as much as, and again, like, I do have qualifications. I feel qualified to speak in these things, but at the end of the day, it's not my place to determine what it affects us. But I think if there's one thing that I have emphasized over the years, is that whenever I venture into American politics, I think that this is one of the wrong-headed things where some people are like, well, why do you care about America? Mind your own country. It's like, well, you have carte blanche over everyone, okay, in the world, so it affects the rest of the world. So that's yeah. Anyway, I'm talking. So I didn't want to burn my content on have it perform badly, but it doesn't seem to be going very well, so that's okay. I don't know why that CPU peak is going the way it is. It's very annoying. Anyway, that's all right. Let me see if I can. I don't know. Whatever. That's all right. It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. I'm just seeing if I can sort of repurpose old computers and get them to just do this. It's we'll figure it out. Given that this is it's pushing it to its limit the way that I've configured it, and it is 1080p video and all that sort of stuff. So it's not too bad. But yeah, so I have a little bit of, I'm feeling hopeful. For the first time in a while. It has been really interesting. I've been enjoying the saltiness, and I've been enjoying watching. Oh, that's right. I was talking about being impatient as an activist, and I think I've said this quite a few times over the years on various things, which is sometimes you just have to sit back and. You know that saying, like, never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake. And I feel that way about some of these systemic issues as well. The cost of living, housing, like the fact that everyone's, this whole boomer problem that we've got of boomers. You've got various other issues where sometimes they just need to work through the system and through the process, and you do land somewhere sensible. Okay, now the problem that we've got with a lot of activists is that they lose their minds in the fucking process. I mean, we're seeing that with again, I'm going to wait till things are more stable, like in terms of the computer, but and do a proper stream when I know things are performing. But about this AI stuff, where you can tell you got to play the long game with stuff. Okay, you got to understand, and part of that comes from understanding how the systems are designed, how the systems work. I have every confidence that Australia is pretty airtight in terms of, and pretty well designed in terms of avoiding any, insanely it's relatively stable. We have, the separation of powers, we have checks and balances, we have processes to follow. When you have a belief that people are good and that people do the best they can, and then when the world doesn't match, you can only sit and look at things for so long. And you just have got to have faith that people see what you see. You just got to have faith that people see what you see. And I'm seeing people who, 5, 8 years ago, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, were in a little neoliberal bubble. Capitalism is great. I think capitalism works great for everybody. I think it's wonderful. You just got to be nice and work hard. And, I'm seeing a whole generation of people who ordinarily they would have become more conservative as they got older, but I'm seeing people become more radicalized in terms of, and I mean radicalized in the good way, as in seeing class consciousness, seeing that brick wall that is, it's not just a glass ceiling, it's a fucking brick wall. If you're a woman and you're up middle class, yes, you're affected by, this glass ceiling, but if you're a woman and also lower class or working class, or have actually, pulled yourself out of poverty, you see a brick wall, you see it. And there's a lot of people who are seeing class for the first time. They are seeing these rigid structures that have locked them out, and they're watching the rich kids and the Nepo babies and all those people just get handed whatever. Most people, I know who've become doctors. I'm not talking about, that are on the dole here. That, get rid of that. I'm talking about professionals who, for the most part, 5, 8 years ago would have gone, no, everything's great. I succeeded. I was one of those people. I bought that shit. Oh no, I'm done. You can make it if you work hard. Until it doesn't. Until you see it and you go, okay, there's a cumulative thing there where you hit your 30s and suddenly you go, hey, I've been working my ass off and I am not where I was told I was going to be, and it's not my fault. I've done everything that you said. And I know a lot of people who, regardless, whatever professional level they've reached, they've gotten there and they've said, you go, okay, this was a load of shit. And they're telling their kids, don't go to uni. They're telling their kids, go into a trade. They're doing all of these things. They're also, they're struggling to buy a house in their 40s and 50s like us. I don't see us ever buying a house. UBI is capitalism on that's another feudalism thing. It's basically, no, I think that UBI is a, okay, so here we go. UBI is a Band-Aid on a systemic problem. It's why that still keeps a handful of billionaires at the top. No. They shouldn't. That money should be redistributed they should pay the taxes, and the government should run programs. That's what the government is for. None of this discretionary. The reason why tech bros support UBI is because they still want to have insane amounts of money, wealth, and power. That is the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is that billionaires have outsized influence over politics, and UBI is a tech bro wet dream because they don't have to pay taxes and they can appease their conscience by paying some. So personally, I think that should be data dividends. Okay, so data dividends. Things like, there's a great book, I've talked about it before, it's called Angrynomics. I am a big supporter of that. They should be paying licenses for people when they've stolen their content, which they have done. So AI training, every person who has been trained should receive a dividend. Everyone who has had their data used should be paid a dividend based on the size of the amount of data they've got on you. So like someone like me, where I lived online my whole life and they've taken my fucking whole identity and they know my kids and all that stuff without my consent, I should get a dividend for all of that every time that's used. Every company that uses it should pay a licensing fee that I get a cut of. Okay, and blockchain can handle, this is the buzzword of, they've been saying that Web3 and smart contracts, this is the role that smart contracts can play, which is that they can link that to an identity and they can track these transactions on a ledger. So, this is the thing. They should be paying taxes and they should be, I billionaire philanthropy and all that shit. It's stop it. Just pay your fucking taxes. pay into the pot and let elected representatives determine where the best need is. That's what the government is for. Okay, not tech bros arbitrarily, like the tech bros hoarding everything and then thinking, oh well, if we give you a token amount of fucking money, you'll shut the fuck up and stop like looking at. And it's like, no, get money out of politics, get money out of politics, get rid of corporate donations in politics, have an actual democracy in place, and pay your tax. It's not difficult. Okay, UBI is just another fucking tech bro. It's like they're trying. It's just an attempt to wave away the root cause, which is they've got too much money, too much power, and they are not paying. They have stolen things, and they're not paying for things that they have taken from people. They've taken data. They should be paying a data dividend to everyone. It's not a UBI. UBI, see, again, it's the psychology around a UBI. It's not so much the concept. Obviously, the concept is, yes, everyone should have, a baseline level of, so that nobody should be punished for being born. Okay? Nobody should have to be, indentured servitude by virtue of being born out of the wrong vagina. Okay, everyone should have food, water, shelter. Right, basic needs should be met. Right? But the UBI is not the way to do that, because it absolves them of the actual reality, which is that it's not theirs to begin with, and it's not theirs to distribute, and it's not theirs. It's not theirs. So pay tax. UBI is another American buzzword, capitalist buzzword for something that's existed, which is pay tax. People will get benefits. And also people that you pay for what you use. It has to be a redistribution based on, they have to, anyway, that's, data dividends is better. So, because again, the subtext of UBI is that it's a gift, that it's a discretion, and that it's like by virtue, it's just, it's our way, like saying thank you. It's like, no, it's not yours. Give it back. It's a right. UBI is this is a human right, and it needs to be corrected by the systems. But anyway, so that's a whole, anyway, I know it's quibbling and I know it's semantics, but at the same time, UBI means fuck all, because everyone knows that unless you address the underlying issue, that is the capitalist structure, especially in the United States, like we've seen that here, where the government will give an energy bonus, right, or give some sort of rent benefit or some sort of payment, right? And lo and behold, that thing goes up suddenly by the amount that the government gave you, right? The price goes up. Like we have that problem with electricity bills at the moment, where no matter how, that's why they're running away. And also, so during the pandemic, our government offered $60,000 for first home buyers to build a house, right? Lo and behold, guess what? Suddenly, and there were supply chain issues and all of those sorts of things, but suddenly it went up. By what would you know? By $60,000. What are the odds of that? So it doesn't actually, like, throwing money per se at the problem in a system where profiteering is endemic, it doesn't fix the problem. And so the root cause is, you need to put penalties in place for, gouging. Need to regulate pricing. It's hard to regulate pricing. It's not constitutional here. That's one problem. Or problem, benefit. I don't know how to do that one because I don't think that you should regulate prices necessarily. Mostly because I do believe in the free market. It's just not a free market. But putting penalties and sanctions and redesigning systems so that actually address the cause, which is greed and gouging and and tax avoidance and all of those sorts of things, and also the theft of data, theft of data that requires amends need to be made, and that's just quibbles, but. I don't see how. If they think the UBI is communist, I don't see how paying taxes is. Paying taxes. UBI is not the answer, because it will just, everything will just go up. I mark my words. You have it. It's not UBI and those payments. They're not inflationary because demand goes up. They're inflationary because exploitation, because capitalists will up the price. Up the price of everything because they know everyone's getting the UBI. It's a human behaviour problem, right? And that's the problem, is that it needs to be, distribution has to happen through democratic means. That's all. That's, anyway, it's a whole other thing. But you could also, you also need to regulate. There's certain things that can be regulated around pricing, certain things that can't. It's a long, again, like I said, these things have to work their way through the system. You have to reach a crisis point. And that comes back to what I was saying before about this whole Trump support problem with X and Elon and all that sort of stuff. Is that you're just seeing? I have every faith in everyday people. Okay, that they will log on to somewhere like X, or they'll log on to these things, and they will see the misogyny, and they will see the racism, and they will see the vile reaction to Kamala being the presumptive nominee, right? Which, again, I'm not yay, and I'm not, I like her as much as you can like a politician. Politicians are wired a certain way. They're not people that I'm going to be friends with. It's a difficult job. You have to have certain qualities to be in that position in the first place, which make you inherently unlikable and inherently not decent. Okay, that's fine. But whether you like someone is irrelevant. Okay, she's the best shot that people have against Trump right now, and I'm, honestly, I am more impressed by her lately than I was. I was a little bit more like, ugh, not Kamala. But, she's sort of rising up, and I like that. But the response, again, when it comes down to, nobody could have provoked. Well, I've seen a lot of, rad fems, right? You're not a rad fem if you're a Trump supporter at this point. If you've gone that direction, you're not a radical feminist. Okay. But I've seen a lot of people who started out as sort of, radical feminists over the turf wars, right, over the gender stuff. And I've seen them sort of drift to the right, where they're like, at least they know what a woman is, which is stupid anyway. Again, 2017, it was weird, okay? But 2024, it's obvious, it's very clear sides here. It's clear what the problem is. You just don't want to know. You don't know the answers. The answers are that, anyway. That's an interesting. Now, hopefully it's not frustrating to watch. It is a bit choppy, and I apologise, but I can't do much about it. But I think this is the difference between when you work in, you understand, and I'm someone particularly, because I had ambitions of running, I wanted to be a senator. That was what I wanted to do, is to represent the state as a senator when I was younger, right? And I studied politics and I immersed myself in that. But then I got involved with party politics, and I realised that I had to become something that I don't think I had. I just, over my life, I just faced this thing where I've gone, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that. I want to be like that. I went through the same thing with working in tech, right? It's like, you have to be of a certain. I've been trying to. I actively fight to make it so that my light doesn't go out. I'm trying to think of the right word. My light, I try not to lose my goodness and my sense of optimism, and I just always committed to not becoming someone that I don't want to be. And so in politics, this is getting to answer your question about Hillary. I already come from a baseline of having seen this and obviously having, friends in politics and knowing people and seeing them over the years and seeing what they've become over the years, again, it's like, it'd be interesting to see what I think when I'm 70. I feel like I've got some wisdom now. But I saw that there is a certain, you sort of have to be somewhat predisposed to dark traits in order to succeed in politics, okay? You have to be willing to do certain things, or at minimum, turn a blind eye to certain things and let other people do certain things. And Hillary Clinton is a very good example of somebody who that stuff chips away at them over time. Now, I know that. I come from that baseline, which is that politicians are generally they work hard, they are good in the situation. But they're not people that you would necessarily look up to in terms of if you actually knew what it involved, right? They have to make a lot of compromises. And I empathise with that. So that's the problem, again, with the system, which is that the system, okay, so when Hillary was a candidate, at the time, I obviously, I don't know, she never really gelled with me because I can spot a psychopath, right? I know that but at the same time, I don't think Trump is the answer either. It's just not the answer, but unfortunately, people like Hillary create people like Trump, and that whole dynamic has played out, right? Hillary Clinton would not be anyone other than who she is now, because that is what that's what politics does to you. Does that make sense? I know that I was kind of around. I'm just thinking it on the fly, but that is what politics does to you as a person. That she would not be anything but what she is. Does that make sense? Especially in the United States. Australian politicians are a bit more sort of grounded, right? But in the United States, the amount of money that you need, okay, the amount of money that you need to run, the amount of money that you need to, all of that sort of stuff, that compromises you straight away. The fact that you need hundreds of millions of dollars or millions of dollars at low level, and hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars now in ads and all of that sort of stuff just to get elected. So that you're compromised already. Okay, like I couldn't do that. I would feel bought and sold. Some people can. Some people can just take the money. You've seen this stuff. You see all these like influencers and internet people and all that. They're quite happy to just say whatever the fuck they need to say for the cash. I'm not one of those people, right? If anything, when the money starts dangling and people start trying to control me with money, I will go out of my way to not do that. Because I just don't. I'm sitting there going, well, you can't buy people. I don't like people who try to buy that sort of thing. Like there's plenty of people you can buy and sell. I ain't one of them. So I also understand. So part of the very system of needing to be elected and the cost of being elected in the United States, it's different here. Here it's a bit more sort of, grassroots. And also I have to I can't generalize because in the United States, obviously you've got a robust sort of local, you've got your sheriffs, you've got your school boards, you've got local government, state government, those sorts of things across 50 different states. Obviously generalize. I'm talking about the federal level with the major parties. You're already bought and sold by the time. Okay. You already sold your soul by virtue of it. Okay. To whoever it is. That's just that's built in. And then there's the parties, just about the cost of being elected and being popular, and so you've got to suck up just by virtue of being in the room with these media ghouls and like all of these fucking corporate like HR clones, all of these people. There's a worldview there that makes you a shell of a person. Okay, you have to no matter like even AOC, you see this happen. which is just by virtue of being in the room, because of the people the power, the money. I've been in these rooms, and you get swept up in the smelling of their own farts, just by virtue of being there, cozying up, having to suck up stakeholders, having to suck up to everyone, having to sort of constantly pander to those that are not above you, so that you can, having to no, opposite. Anonymous donations for political fundraising, the opposite. It needs to be 100% transparent and public, like it is. Okay. Fuck no. Anonymous donations, no. They should be banned. They should be outlawed. Hell no. If it's a democracy, then people have the right to know who's donating to you and where the money's coming from. All of this pack stuff. I find it. Again, I'm not saying there's no transparency, but dark money is a really big problem. And digital, this is where it intersects with my work, which is that dark money and digital has become, especially Facebook ads and Google and those sorts of ad accounts and digital agencies, they've become a very good source of laundering dark money throughout these campaigns. And that's why I was saying that actually on with the Kamala commercial, where basically it's like, well, they might run a commercial that looks like that, but then the main thing is the micro-targeting on Facebook with the more vile stuff. So they'll run a television commercial that to a normal person looks fine and reasonable, and like they're pretty negative, but they're nothing compared to what the targeted ads are. They're awful. Like if you actually go through the ad library and you see the kinds of ads that are being run and targeted, I'll go through. I'm still tracking it. I'll follow some of these things through this election. But no, it should be completely public, always public, because at least then some people who are willing to do journalism, the handful that are doing it, that information can come to light, assuming that platforms aren't banning anybody who does journalism. See where it all links? It's just like journalists or people for speaking or finding information or sharing information, and they can't be donating to political parties. And if they do, it has to be transparent and disclosed at all times. I mean, that's one thing that's good about Australia. Like, it's not like anything. We're at the mercy of global corporations that are untouchable. But for the most part, our legal system does have a fairly robust anti-corruption mechanisms, right? So we do have, again, America does too, but it's just a matter of whether you force them. You need the political will. It's frustrating, but no, anonymous donations, absolutely not. They'd be disclosed at all times, especially large amounts. Have to, without fucking compromise. That's the bedrock of democracy, is transparency. Where your elected representatives are receiving money and interests. Like that's I don't. Again, I've had to also. I mean, even just down to, I don't know whether anonymity in general works anymore at all. I've had to sort of reflect on that, because anonymity used to be a principle of the internet, like this. And there's a previous video some time ago about how I've had to think about that, whether that's a good idea. Again, I got a dry lip. I just bit my lip. Hang on. I just bit the skin off my lip. Sorry. But, it's like, okay, how do you solve this problem of anonymity when people when campaigns are all astroturfed? And it's tricky. It's tricky stuff. Without sort of stomping on other rights and creating other problems, right? I don't know. I don't know. But I think that, I don't know. There's things I just don't understand, because I just am not the kind of person who, I don't have the same incentives as other people. Like I'm more immune to certain things than other people. Like I've somehow managed to be fairly not that it's really come up. I mean, it has over the years. I've had various people contact me and, you know, try to, you know, get me to be a mouthpiece for their stuff. But for the most part, I can see through that. I'm not, yeah, I don't know. I seem to be protected from some of these things, but I just spot bullshit. Anyway, but yeah, but on Hillary, yeah, but I was talking about politics, what it costs you already. Once money's involved, you're already compromised. Okay. And the network having to suck up to the media, but then also being First Lady, everything that goes with that. The scandals, obviously, with her husband and all that sort of stuff. That's not an easy thing, right? Yeah, okay, so okay. How about anonymous donations to journalists so that they can do their job? Well, yes, but it should still be, hi, Stephen, it should still be disclosed that that journalist received a sum of money from an anonymous source. Okay, so there still has, I still think there should be maximum transparency as much as possible. Okay. I just tend to not trust people who take money and don't disclose where that money comes from. And that's just right. But also, like, the thing is that it does get declared through tax returns anyway. So if the money is tracked, so anonymous donations, I don't know. It's the thing is that you've got your utopian, I've seen my utopian view of things the test because of the practical problems that we have, and they are big problems. And this is where pragmatism sort of becomes, I tend to lean more towards the pragmatic, but I also do it with great hesitation. Like, in principle, anonymous donations to journalists is a great idea. I would love to get the odd anonymous donation or two, become a patron. No, I'd love to get but I also know that stuff does have, you've got to be, again, and also don't forget, journalists are trained in this. So when you do a journalism degree, or you become a member of something like the MEA or these unions or whatever, or you practice as a journalist, right? You are expected to adhere to a certain set of ethics and conduct. Like, there's a whole media law unit coming up, and there's a whole code of ethics and media. You know, you do sign up to a certain thing. It's like with with doctors and the Hippocratic Oath, or lawyers and the Constitution, all that sort of stuff, right? Laws. You do pledge to do the best you can within your area. So, and part of that is transparency around funding sources, declaring when things are an ad, taking money from not just being a mouthpiece. That's the difference between a content creator and a journalist. A journalist, in theory, is not a content creator. A content creator is someone who is paid to create content of a commercial nature. A journalist is reporting in the public interest, okay? I 100% agree that supporting independent journalists with anonymous donation, any way that they need to be supported, absolutely. Like Ryan Grimm has just started a new site called Dropsite News, and there's a market for that. Like, people really want independent news. But this is why I haven't gone into journalism. Even though it's like from the outside it would be a natural fit, and I've thought about it over the years a lot, because there is no way to do real journalism without compromising on some level with money. In America, yeah, it's fine because the market's big, but here you can't do high quality journalism. The market's too small. It's just too small. You can't survive financially. Independent like investigative journalism is very expensive because it takes a long time to produce work. It takes a long time to produce one piece, right? It's often sometimes 6 months to a year to produce one big feature, right? Of a big proper investigative journalism versus content, which is, you can shit out content every day for brands or reviews or thoughts or whatever, and that's not a journalism standard, right? I think that's getting clear on what journalism is and is not that's why I haven't really gone into it. No, you didn't ask the question, but I'm saying why I haven't really gone. I'm just free forming it. But why I haven't gone into journalism is because I hold it in high esteem, and if I do it, I would do it properly, and I would do it with integrity. And I know that it wouldn't work because I live here, and the market's too small. And if you are getting donations of certain amounts of money, there's a cost to it, especially here. Like here, it's just Murdoch. Murdoch will either run you out of town, you comply, or you get run out of town. You can't really do much, right? It's unfortunate because I take everything so seriously, right? You might think it's fine. I take everything very seriously. It's because I take that stuff seriously that I don't do it, because I want to do it properly. I did try to develop a platform for it, but that, fell over. You run out of money, and you always run into the Nazi problem, always. Okay? And that's just one of those things where if you develop a social media platform or any kind of platform, you're going to hit the Nazi problem, and then you're going to have to decide to curtail speech, and then you're going to have to choose whether you and that'll kill your business. So your value it's just you're going to run into a problem of moderation that people don't like, and you're going to run into the Gab problem, the Substack problem, the thing that the Nazi problem. Okay, the people that make websites so garbage and so unvaluable that they can kill your business, but if you censor them, they'll kill your business. You can't win. You can't get good money. You can't get mainstream VC money or anything like that without either selling out to corporations and taking ads and stealing data and that sort of stuff, or pandering to sort of private donors. Anyway, I know it's all interrelated. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm just saying, like, these are difficult problems because, again, the underlying problem is that people need to survive. If I didn't need to pay rent and have bills and pay bills and heat my house, fucking freeze egg, all those things, I would be freed up to create and write and all that stuff. Instead, I'm spinning my wheels trying to figure out like what I can do to make money. It's like that's unfortunate for everyone, is that, you can't, the ability to be an independent creator in the current climate is an extremely luxury thing for someone to do. Like, the only reason I get to do this is because Paul works and meets the bulk of like the money. Like, if I take on clients, I'm not able to do this kind of stuff because clients don't like it when you speak your mind, for a start. But yeah, and I do have some clients, but like at the same time, it's like that's where things like going back to UBI, those things would be useful if they actually, if people actually had their basic needs met and housing wasn't a commodity. Like, you can't tell me that like landlords wouldn't just up if the second anyone gets any UBI. Okay, yes, actually I saw this. Sorry, I'm going on a fucking tangent. I saw this not long ago, where people on benefits, so it's called Centrelink benefits here, it's like unemployment benefits, whatever, and they got an increase of like $25 a week, and landlords on Facebook are just upping their rent by like that amount, going, oh well, it's theirs, it's mine, I'm going to take it. And it's like, this is what happens, is that greed. It's just revolting seeing like, you will learn a lot about humanity looking at Facebook groups with landlords in them. And like, it's absolutely astonishing. I just don't have that mindset. I don't understand it. I'm just not somebody who does that. Like I've had the same, I didn't put my rates up, like my hourly rates, even though everyone else around me was. I absorbed all of it because I didn't want to, and my clients have more money than me, but at the same time, I just, I was like, no, stand firm. It's like, because I have principles and I didn't want to do that. But like, yeah, it didn't stop everyone around me from fucking putting their rates up. But it's like, yeah, talking about journalism. Yeah, I'm saying these things, basic needs. Like you can't unless it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter if you're a good writer. It doesn't matter. It's resource drain, and these things cost money to do. They, it's time, and even then, like I've talked about, like writing. There's a difference between shitting out content and writing something that you actually care about or is actually of quality. And I was saying I was trying to explain this to Paul. Can't remember what it was. It's just cognitive load. This concept, like where if I've got, and again, I've got ADHD, so it's probably a little harder as well. But me, when I'm having to, like, okay, teenagers in the dishwasher. Here's a good example, the dishes. Like, if I have to ask them 10 times a day to put their dishes in the dishwasher or to clean this and to remember this and to do the rubbish, and I say, and then they go, well, you should remind me. And I go, but that takes time. My brain, 10, 15, 20% of my brain is dedicated to managing other people's day. Okay? The household's day. They've got to do that. They've got to do that. They do that. They got to do that. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Well, that thing takes away a large portion of my brain. Okay. So then I've got to think about, obviously, uni. So I've got exams coming up. So I've got to think about that. I've got to sit here thinking about the CPU load while I'm talking. That's just an example, but I'm just saying, I'm thinking about all of these other things. And when you are writing something, right, just you have to be able to tap into 100% of your brain. And never actually, and this isn't like women have less brain capacity. It's like, no, women have more mental load because of all of this stuff, right? And I keep trying to explain this to my sons and my husband. They get it, they get it as much as you can get. But it's like, why didn't you tell me? I don't know. We both have eyes. Why can't you see the same thing I see? Anyway. So, but it's the same thing when and I'm getting to the point, which is, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basically, which is, when people are in survival mode, they can't create. You can't write. You can't. You're thinking about all of the other survival things. You're thinking about staying afloat. How the fuck are you going to write anything good? Like, I don't know how somehow it got mythologized that people, because Gramsci wrote from prison, or, the handful of people wrote in these places, right? In places of despair, that somehow that's the norm for everybody. It's like, well, no, even Marx, he was a kept man, right? He had a patron. Most of the, the philosophers and stuff around the French Revolution, they were all, upper class. They were all at least kept well. I'm listening to a thing about the French Revolution at the moment, an audiobook. And the takeaway is that, first of all, they were all fucking men. Second of all, they were all, men who had the free time to hang out at the salon, all those sorts of stuff, right? And they were often the children or of aristocrats. Okay, and they were all, middle up. Oh, there was no middle class, but they weren't. Let's just say they were not serfs. Okay, they were still part of a class that could focus on doing that 100% of the time. That's the thing about journalism. Okay, is that to do it well and to do it honestly, you have to be of a certain class, and you have to be It's just, I think it's just, anyway. But yeah, so you learned it from your wife. It's very hard to explain to a man, and it's not, if I could say one thing to men, it's to just understand that, like, how many million thoughts in a woman's brain are not hers, but she's doing everyone else's thinking for them all the time. And if you can reduce that load, that's how you help, is to reduce that. Because my whole thinking, like today, I'm sitting here going, okay, what am I cook for dinner? Okay, I got to put the thing on. I got to do that. I got to go get meat. I got to go do this. I got to do that. I got to clean that. I got to do that. Okay, that's before I even get to work, you know. But if you, again, and I've got a good husband, but I'm basically like, well, I think about his lunch tomorrow, what I can make, and then he goes to work, he gets his lunch, he comes home. That's, you know, that's at work, but I'm saying we backwards and in high heels shit. Okay, so anyway, can't remember what I was on this fucking, but anyway, take things very seriously. I'm a very person. Anyway, it would be nice. Yes, it would be nice if anonymous donations didn't have a big. The thing is that people. That's how the problem with that kind of thing is, if you create an avenue where people can donate money anonymously, it means that you're creating a system where people can clean their money. And that's unfortunate, because unfortunately we have to design the world around psychopaths and crime and illegal and fuckwits existing, rather than people who want to do the wrong thing, rather than people who want to do the right thing. And the answer to that is absolutely yes, except we can't do that because it'll be used to launder money. It's just, yes, it'd be used by the worst people. Like this whole influencer thing, that was meant to be good, wasn't it? It was meant to be a win-win thing with content and advertisers, and everyone just got along, and, you know, but then you found people who would put their kids on TikTok doing skincare, anti-aging skincare influence for a 10-year-old. And then you see that and you go, well, you're a shitty parent. We didn't think of the shitty parents, did we? Or the companies that would like exploit that. Like that was a blind spot. We thought, okay, maybe we should stop assuming that everyone is ethical and sane and does the right thing. You know, like there's people out there who will use their children as, you know, it's disgusting. Like, oh my God, that stuff. Children as beauty influencers at the moment is driving me wild. I've been wanting to do something on that. But, yeah, I don't like my chances of sharing video if it can't even do my video. I might have to change out the computer. That's all right. I'll see how I go. But I was hoping to get some life out of this thing, but it might not. I'll do some tweaks and see how we go. Yeah, I don't know. I just I think it's easy to talk about things in the abstract, like that this is one of the for and against stuff. You know, like you said about anonymous donations to journalists or anything, and it comes back to what I was saying about the sort of the system being somewhat stabilizing and sort of they find an equilibrium, right, to an extent, because they've been designed in that way to have checks and balances. But it just takes some time to get there. We're seeing that with tech. Like this AI stuff is cracking me up. Like it's I think OpenAI are losing money like now, which is so they've basically figured out that it's unsustainable, which is funny. But things just they do somewhat self-correct, not always, but sometimes. But people also, you know, people go, fuck it. We're having a conversation right now about, you know, UBI and all those things, and I think people are more open to it than they have been. And it goes back to, I think Kamala Harris will win purely off the base. I think that the best campaign for Kamala Harris is Trump supporters being misogynistic and racist, because I don't think most people are like that. I think most people will look at that Twitter incel weirdo fucking shit and go, wow, that's unhinged. Like, actually, because Paul is a good test for me because I'm super political. Obviously, I'm trained in it and interested in it, and I live and breathe political theory and all that sort of stuff. And I showed him a video of Kamala Harris, and he's like, he represents Mr. Normie because when I met him, he wasn't interested in voting. He used to donkey vote, which donkey voting in Australia is because we've got preferential voting. He was number up and down, up or down. So he just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the thing, and he didn't care who he was voting for. That's called a donkey vote. And I ripped him to shreds. I was like, you, fuck you. Like, and now he takes his vote a little more seriously in that he votes how I tell him to vote. No. To him, how lucky he is to have that vote. Now, even if how it is a luxury to throw that vote away. If you have the right to vote, so many don't get the right to vote. Use your vote for them. Don't vote for your, like even if you don't care or don't want anything, or you vote as if you can't vote and you want your voice heard. That's all I ask. Use your power. Use the one power that you have, which is your vote. Okay. A lot of middle class white men take that stuff for granted because they're used to having power in other areas. But my grandmother and my great grandmother and those people who fought for these things, like I don't understand that. Again, I don't understand how people take these things for granted because I grew up having to fight for everything. So I've never been in a position where I can take too much for granted, right? Other than my wife. But that's, that's a big deal too. But anyway, but it's, what was I saying? Oh yeah, but I showed Paul the stuff, the horrible sex crap that was being said about Kamala, and then her speech with this, like, where she's said that she was a prosecutor, and then she said, "I know Donald Trump's type," and he's like, "Yeah, I like her. I'd vote for her." And I'm like, that's the normal view is they're being rotten and disgusting, and like the things that they're saying are horrible, and they're sharing videos like I love the funny is the self-own, the own goals of Trump supporters. They're kind of having a massive tantrum, which is in its own right. But the thing that I found funny was them sharing these videos and framing them as though they're bad, but they're actually good things, and they're spending ad money on ad campaigns that they think are negative ad campaigns. And unless you are severely suffering from insane amounts of brain worms, you can't see that as a bad thing. And it's just, I find that the own goal stuff is hilarious. They're actually literally just advertising for her, and it's just funny. So, but my son did that. He said, yes, but America has a lot of people with brain worms. So, it's interesting times. I think we're going to see. I think this election will be the test to who's lost it and who hasn't. Like who's got brain worms and who hasn't. Now, again, because even when I talk about Trump supporters, I'm not talking about conservative people. I'm not talking about your traditional Republican party, right? That's just it's been completely taken over by MAGA. Like if you actually know much about the history of the Republican Party, the Republican Party evolves. Like the two parties in the United States are very different to here, in that they have in the past, sort of flipped. Like the Republicans were the progressives, but like for the first several years of America's history, and then they flipped. Right, so they're a lot more diverse. I'm talking about traditional, economically conservative. I can talk to them. I think they're wrong. I think they cherry pick. I think that that's a lot, But we can have the debate. You can have a discussion, okay, about Keynesian economics, or about you largely come to like the same conclusions, but through different lenses and through different experiences. A lot of conservatives, just haven't really experienced life. Through as a woman, or as a particularly a poor woman, or someone who's not in power, or they're someone who did grow up like that, was favourable to the country, their hindsight bias and stuff. So once you sort of reach them on and you talk to them from that point of view where you go, well, what if you hadn't gotten that? You know, and you sort of take them through. You can have a conversation, that's my point. But the people who are just screaming and yelling and just lost their minds, you can't have a discussion. You can't have a debate or anything. It's just it's just dunking. This election will be a test of that, whether there's still any good faith. And I think even mainstream conservatives will probably vote Democrat in this instance because they've seen what's happening to their party and to their not a lot of Republicans are pro, you know, they're not you objectively look at the vice president. If you hold the American political system and the office of the president or vice president in esteem at all, you will see the humiliation, or the attempted humiliation. You know, the graphic with her on her knees and the tawdry stuff about her sleeping her way to the top. There's disgusting, racist, misogynist, clearly just vile things. Even a conservative would be put off by that because they hold the office and they would go, you show some respect for, you know, like I can't see how you would sit and look at that and go, well, that's, I don't see how anyone who loves America would go with that stuff. Again, it depends on whether you have faith in people and you have faith in their eyes and in the good people, and that still naive believe that when presented with new information, people can change at any point. I've seen people in their 80s change their minds with just, changing slightly different perspectives. I've, as someone who tries to do that, I've seen that happen. It's possible. It's hard. It's annoying. It is tedious. It is time intensive, resource intensive, but it happens. And so if I truly, but I have every that those who have access to the information, that's the condition. Those who have access to the information will make the right call. Okay. I believe that most people are good. Most people are accepting. Most people are sick of this fucking culture wars bollocks. It's entertainment. But I like to think that there's, I reckon 25% max of the country go for this stuff. And I think that what this will do is mobilise non-voters more than it will change any votes. Because I think people were just going to not vote before that. Like, obviously, remember, again, the numbers, 40% of Americans who are eligible to vote don't vote. So a big part of it is it's not about dyed-in-the-wool partisans, but it's actually about getting people to vote. And if Kamala gets, some energy around her and you actually build some momentum in the anti-Trump people, and you actually provide people with an alternative to what was there before, I think that you'll mobilise people and get them going. I think that with time we'll find that the Trump base are loud but small, and that's what I think anyway. Because I do believe that they're just extremely loud, extremely aggressive, extremely astroturfed. But that is the problem. Like I said before, having access to information. The thing that I'm worried about, and I'll talk a bit about this. I might end up having to pre-record a few things to the CPU, but I'll see if I can tweak this stuff. Is the targeted advertising stuff. Like, it's what that, because a lot of it is stuff that you can't see because they are first of all targeting you on Facebook, but they're using sort of small campaigns, so like $500 a month campaigns. So it sits below against strategy, right? Where they set up an e-commerce store that's merch, but it's just a shop front, technically political advertising. And use that to pull them into the databases and the funnels, so then they can pull them right, and then they can send them direct. So they can do a direct campaign. So they can do so if you click on that and go to the store or whatever, and you buy, say, a bunch of socks or whatever, that's a funnel that they've got there where they will now have your email address and your number and your stuff like that, and they can target you in a direct way. And that avoids scrutiny because it's your email, it's your text, right? And that stuff is the stuff that can be, or they can use remarketing campaigns and those sorts of things that are more radicalizing than sort of more general public stuff, right? So they start speaking directly to you. I don't know whether the boomers on Facebook are quite able already for that kind of campaign, and I think that we should be watching for that kind of thing. That's what I'm going to be looking into a lot, because I find that, you know, how to get around these things, no matter what Facebook does, no matter what they try to put in place. Facebook make a lot of money. Meta make a lot of money from astroturfing, dark money, and laundering through agencies, running, you know, and staying under the radar, right? But there's not much we can do. They make a lot of money. They're not going to do much about it. They're just going to make the right noises, and then. But yeah, so that's where it's going to be interesting, because you know, I'm feeling hopeful. I don't know if you are, but I'm feeling quite hopeful that things can get better with time. I do feel in an ideal, I said this on LinkedIn, that in an ideal world, we saw Musk going back on his pledge to Trump, which is funny. But what you'll see, because he thought he was backing the winner, and then you realise that it might not be, so he's like backpedaling. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants like something that's favourable to him. But what's interesting is that he'll try to gear X in a way that wins. And I think that what will happen is that these tech guys will overplay their hands. They've all gone full fash. They're all like, you know, they're basically mask off at this point. And a lot of them are like really gone like down, like there's this breeder deep end incel shit that like leaders of the tech community are saying horrible, vile things because they feel emboldened by like the people around them on, you know, like they're hanging out on X obviously, but they're feeling emboldened because of people like Musk and Trump. But I have a feeling that should that not succeed, so should X not be a useful propaganda asset anymore, that Musk will lose interest and it will be sold to someone else, or to, you know, whatever. And also that, you know, things will, you get a Democratic president, you get a blue wave across the country. They can finally regulate big tech bros who've been saying fucking horrible, absolutely psychopathic shit for years and years and years, become sidelined in Silicon Valley, and maybe we get to maybe we get a reset. Maybe a few of them go to jail. I think it's actually out of the question that some of these guys will go to jail, because what they've done is actually pretty unconscionable, and you just that they're operating on the pretext that that they're untouchable, and as soon as they stop being untouchable, that's when the criminal shit kicks in, because a lot of the time. With these cases, it's they usually get them on things like conspiracy charges rather than the actual, you know, the other stuff. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of dodgy shit going on right now to shuffle, you know, dark money and various other things like that. So again, that's fan fiction on my part. I would like to see more action on these. Unaccountable tech guys who are, especially the EAC weirdos and the people who allow, who are just just malicious actors. I can't believe that I defended the $8 blue checks, and I assumed that there would be at least ID verification as part of it, not as an option. Like, that's insane. Like, these meme accounts are just, it's so stupid, the rage bait and everything. It's like I'm now at the point where I literally can't tell between idiot and engagement bait, and they're all just engagement bait. As a UX person, it breaks my heart to see this, what was once a great experience, completely unraveled with, like, I don't know who's designing the platform, but it's terrible. It's like, I don't know who's working there. I don't know who's designing it, but it's dog shit, and it's upsetting as a UX person to see something that I used to hold in high regard as a product. Circle the drain like that. But again, like, it survives in spite of itself. It always has. So, you know, again, I think that things will just work things have a way out. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't bringing that about. You've got to still keep working to bring that about, but just have some more faith in the fact that people are doing the work in the background. People see what you see, and people share your concerns. And, you know, it's okay. Like, again, I'm an absolute case in point here, or a perfect example of somebody who I just stick to what I know. I do my work. I make sure that what I am saying and doing with maximum integrity as much as I can. Obviously, I make mistakes. I put too much emphasis on this piece of information and not enough on this. And okay, I should have been looking at this. That's okay, but I try to do the best I can. It's almost like I should be a journalist or something. But with time, if you believe in the goodness of people, you have trust in systems for the most part. Don't just sit around going capitalism. Like, I can say that they're not to say that neoliberalism is stable and capitalism is sort of, I believe in the free market, but I don't believe in what's going on now. And I can still say it's change. It's not one or the other. It's right? You can say that the free market works well in this area, but it doesn't work so well in this area. That's what Marx said. Marx was a fan of capitalism. And then he said, I'm a fan of it until I'm not, and then it doesn't work. You see? It's like, okay, well, it doesn't work over here. Okay? And that's what Smith or even Smith do regulations. Anyway. I don't even know if I said anything, but I'm going to go because I need to piss. I don't know if anyway, good to see you. I've got to just figure this technical stuff out. I don't want to spend money on a new computer. So I'm just doing we're doing the kid tech shuffle that we do. And I'm using the shittest computer to see if that can be used as a streaming computer. And then we work our way and figure out who gets. So I don't know whether this is going to work, but we'll see how we go. I might be able to tweak some settings because otherwise it does actually work pretty well. So anyway, I love you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all for dropping in and chatting and stuff. I'm glad the LinkedIn chat's working. I'll do something a bit more structured, and I'm going to do a lot more pre-recorded stuff. I'm actually working on, I'm trying to think of whether I make it a video or a document or both, which is some how to use AI LLMs ethically. So one thing that I do, I try, I rather than just talking about the problem, I do try to be the change I want to see. So I have been experimenting with what I think content creators, writers, agency owners, people who are building websites. If you own a website, this is sort of some best practice things like, how you can use LLMs, but with full transparency, the kind of user experience I would recommend, not just, So I've been working through some of that because it's not, like everything, it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. Exists, and it is a tool. It's a valuable tool that you can use, and I'm not going to sit there and be one of those idiots who condemns people for using things that are useful. Like the fact that tech bros owe us money doesn't mean that the tech shouldn't be used. It's like they're different problems, and people conflate too many different problems. It's like, well, no, I think we should be allowed to use LLMs, and they should be able to take stuff, and they should be able to use it, but they've got to pay for it. Pay for it. Everything that they scraped, they need to give some money to. They need to pay for the data. That's it. Problem solved. Okay? And if they need to somehow write tech, I know that, again, it might not quite be there, but I know that smart contracts and blockchain technologies do allow for this kind of stuff, because I've got a lot of interest in royalties and distributed royalties and all that stuff, and provenance, right, for creatives. That's one of the main reasons I went into digital, was around this sort of stuff, and rights management. And smart contracts could easily track with a token or some sort of thing where when that particular thing is used as an input on a prompt and it outputs, that person gets fucking a cent or 3 cents or whatever. Like, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen Spotify cut royalties and make a record profit. So well done. I'm glad you went with Spotify and not me, guys. So good. It's such a great system. Now I am realizing why I didn't get startup money now. I would never have put up with this shit. I would never have compromised like this. That's my problem. I'm not in politics because I wouldn't have compromised on it. I'm not in this, I won't do those things. And I've always wanted to use myself as a test case, that if you can succeed while staying sort of stubbornly, on principle, it's not possible. I can't see it. Like, again, it could also just be that no one likes me. That's okay too. But I'm just saying, like, this is something that I've often wondered. Like, can I be a published author without, or like, can I do YouTube, or can I do these things and do the things the way I want to do them? Because that's what they sell you. Can I do it the way I want to do it and still live? And the answer is no, not anymore. There was a window of a decade when the internet first started where that was the case, but now it is pay to play, and it's all sponsored content, and everyone, again, some people have more freedom than others, but a lot of that freedom comes from already being in a position where you are comfortable financially and able to withstand some of that stuff. Okay. But yeah, not in Australia. Take coin. I thought about rolling my own and doing like an ICO, like doing my own shit coin. That'd be funny. But it is a funny idea. But I have to go. I've got to piss. I'm annoyed about the CPU because otherwise it actually looks and sounds good. I've got this.
What a load of old shit!
Won't somebody please think of the children?
And of course, I'm a child. It's all working great. The iPad's on things. Always a catch. I'll tweak some settings and see how we go. We'll figure it out. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I love you. I'll be back next week. I've got like exams coming up, and they're invigilated, and they're worth 50% of my mark, and I don't do well in the sort of the proctored invigilated exam situation, because I don't like being watched. I don't like that, just that sensation. So I've got that, but I'm on the home stretch now. I can finally do actual law units that I'm actually interested in, which is good. Thinking of doing a full-time load so I can get through faster, but we'll see how we go, because I've still got to do another fucking grad dip after this. Because if you can either have an internship or clerkship with a firm or judge before you can practice, or you can do a grad dip. And I don't really want to do an internship because I don't think I'm going to be able to do an internship. I'm too old to be talked to like that by some, you know what I mean. I will definitely tell someone to fuck off, and then, so I'll have to do the grad dip instead. But get the practicing certificate that way. But I'll see how we go. But I'm chipping away at it. But I'm on the home stretch now. I'm a Juris Doctor probably by, if I leg it, could be early next year. Otherwise, I'll see how I go. But I'm thinking about getting it done as quickly as possible, because I'm seeing I can do the fun stuff now. So anyway, we'll be back next week. I've got a rent in. Oh yes. So for the Americans, rent inspections are a thing every 3 months. If you rent a house every 3 months, the real estate agent comes and basically goes through with a white glove and a camera and photographs and inspects your house for everything. And you've got to make it look like a display home every 3 months. So we've got a rental inspection. So we've got to clean we've got to do a spring clean every 3 months, which I like because it makes me clean. But it's that's so annoying. But yeah, so that's next week too. But I will be back. It won't be Monday because that's the inspection, but probably sometime next week. But I'm just going to try and figure out this CPU problem. Thank you for bearing with it while I did this. I'll try and figure out why it's doing that, because it shouldn't be that high, but I'll figure it out. I love you. Talk soon. Bye. Bye.